Hello my friends, and welcome back to another video from Tales from the Road. Today, because you clicked on this video, we're going to talk about a country that I just spent about 2 months living in, the majestic Eastern European country of Romania. Today, we're going to get into the details, so if that sounds good, let's do it. So as we always do with these videos, let's start with a country background so you can better get to know what's going on in Romania. Without getting into crazy detail, we can just say that Romania has had an incredibly storied and varied history, with various empires and peoples calling this land home. The most important things to note about Romanian history are the presence of the Dacians, who were the pre-Roman Empire peoples who occupied Romania. A lot of the Romanian language, this weird mix between Latin roots and Slavic roots, still has some old Dacian words, which is notable. Another significant time of history is when Romania was part of the Roman Empire, which is of course why it's called Romania today, and which made this country in Eastern Europe very particular, as they have heritage both from sort of the Romance Western European Latin world and from the Eastern European world that it finds itself in, taking parts of the language from both. After the fall of the Roman Empire, lots of other empires in the region went for Romania. Part of it ended up in the Austro-Hungarian Empire, part of it in the Russian Empire, and part of it in the Ottoman Empire. This is where you get the biggest myth of Romania, which is Vlad Dracula. Vlad Dracula, really shortly, was a major character in the fight against the Ottoman Empire and the subsequent fall of Wallachia into the Ottoman sphere instead of keeping Romania whole. The whole story about Dracula being a vampire and all this other stuff really isn't related to Romania. It was only the character that Bram Stoker made in his Dracula book. But people, of course, visit Romania specifically to see Dracula's castle, which is a castle that Vlad Tepes, the actual guy, barely lived in, but people go to it. I really think it's a waste of time to go visit, and we did it with my friend, and they guaranteed that it's also a waste of time, but nonetheless remains very interesting today. The last chunk of Romanian history that's notable is when Romania fused together all these different parts, Wallachia, Moldavia, and all of these parts that were part of different empires. They came together, and then they were subsequently ruled by some kings, and then of course the socialist sort of Eastern Bloc state that defines modern Romania today. They had a very notorious dictator named Ceausescu, and a lot of his palaces and crazy things that he did is a very good reason to also tour Romania. And modern Romania today is much like a lot of the Eastern Bloc states, getting better, getting more wealthy, coming out of a very tough late 80s, early 90s where the country was poor and had a lot of work to do to get to be a modern European nation like it is today. I could, of course, tell you a lot about the modern European nation that it is today, but I think it's a better idea that we get out to the streets of Bucharest and find out for ourselves. Come along. So here we are outside in central Bucharest, the capital of Romania. So, do you want to come to Romania like me? You're going to need a visa. Visas are super important. If you're American, you can stay in this beautiful land, in this city, or around the country for 90 days. This is really helpful also if you're playing the game of Schengen zone hopping. What I'm saying is the Schengen zone, which is the major free trade zone of the EU, encompasses most of the EU nations. Romania is in the EU, but it is not in the Schengen zone. So if you are spending 90 days in Spain and you want to visit Romania, you still can. You have 90 days here, which is super clutch. A lot of digital nomads are using this, bouncing back and forth for a longer and kind of easier trip in Europe. Standing here in beautiful University Square here in Bucharest, we're gonna talk now about money. Romanians use the leu. They do not use the euro. That does not mean, however, that if you have euros, you cannot use them. You can use the euro. Some places will take them, a lot of restaurants, a lot of shops, because obviously this is close enough to the EU space where that would be a normal thing. 1 euro is basically 5 leu, or about $4.2. And if you need to get money, for example, you can come over here to one of the various banks that they have, tons and tons of banks to withdraw cash. The city is also filled with different exchange shops, so if you have cash and you're here, you can definitely do an exchange. I wouldn't necessarily do one that says 0 commission or ones in the old city center, because lots of tourists and they're here to rip you off. That being said, while you can use cash here, you definitely don't need to. I basically pay with everything on my card. It could be grocery store, it could be hotels, it could be basically like a cup of coffee somewhere. all card all the time is all good. Regarding the cost effectiveness of Romania, although it is not in the EU, it is not super cheap. I was kind of not shocked, but a bit surprised by how expensive it was. So if you went to something like this restaurant, Exclusive Grill and Crepes, that's anywhere near the tourist zone, it's going to be between $10 and $20 for an entree, probably $7 to $10 for some sort of drink. Coffee can run you anywhere between $1.50, $3, $4. It just depends on the place. And apartments, housing, all that stuff can be kind of expensive. I'm paying 1,100 euros per month for my apartment in the city center here. So while it's not really expensive for European standards, it's also not necessarily cheap either. Our journey has now taken us to transportation, the great streets of Romania. How do you get around them? So here in Bucharest, the capital, you have some major options. You can take buses through the city, you can take the metro, which I'll show you in a second. You can take taxis. Really, like, never ever take a taxi in the Balkans. Always order Uber or Bolt. You can get most places in the city for around 5 to 10 euros, so pretty good deals, and you see them driving around all over the place. As you can see, Bucharest has a lot of traffic. It's pretty congested, and many of the cities and highways are quite congested because there's not really good traffic flow in these older cities. Since being here in the old town, it's always congested. You got old buildings, you got new buildings, and a lot of different transportation options. If you see yellow taxis, you see them all over the place. Don't go for the yellow taxis. Here in Bucharest, you have the option to take the metro, and you can come down here. They have a pretty big underground network built to get around the city. Also, getting from city to city, you can take buses and trains, which you can connect to through the metro. Getting around Romania does take some time because Romania has big mountains in the middle, the Carpathian Mountains, which is what they call the Romanian Alps, which are, they're big and they cause a lot of traffic. So that being said, Romania is a very large country. If you want to go to cities like Iași, to cities like Brașov, to cities like Cluj-Napoca, they're all kind of far away from Bucharest. So if you want to do a big trip, you realize you're going to spend a lot of time in cars, buses, planes, and a lot of people do take domestic flights. So what are you going to expect to find in Romania? I think if you're talking about kind of the vibe, this is an awesome place to look. So here, if you look at this building right here, this is one of the old brutalist 70s communist style architecture that everybody loves in the city here. You have this beautiful old imperial building, probably built in the mid 1800s, very epic. And then you have here the new modern updated Romania. The people are also kind of the offshoot of this. So everyone here, I don't know, it's Eastern Europe, but it's also Europe. It's Italian feeling because the language sounds very Italian, but with a lot of Eastern European Slavic words. It's a big mix here, and I think that's what's so cool about Romania. It's like a little of the West, a little of the East, a little of the communism, a little bit of the modern capitalism. It's like a big, nice mix. Safety. How about the safety here in Romania? Well, I would say that this is a very, very safe place. I would say that just like any other European capital, you know, like here in Bucharest, you know, you have people, there's a little bit of homelessness happening. There's a little people doing weird stuff. There's a lot of drunk people because there's a lot of bachelor parties here in Bucharest because there's cheap flights from Italy and from the UK. So there's just a bunch of drunk dudes all the time. But overall, you know, worry about pickpockets. And then also with the taxis, you gotta be careful with the taxis. Don't get scammed. Don't like have anyone show you anything that doesn't like have a price. So just like those little things, little tips and tricks. That's always an Eastern Europe, Balkan sort of thing. Just always ask the price before you commit to anything, and you should be fine. I find that there's a lot less sketchy, homeless, crime kind of stuff than you find a lot in Western Europe, especially in Paris and London. It's not comparable here, and the other cities, it's just not sketchy. You go to a smaller town in Romania, it's just not sketchy at all. So it's a very enjoyable time. So now we're going to talk about food. Romanian food is awesome. Big, big fan of it. And these are some of the dishes that you can expect to find here. I've actually eaten at this place, pretty good, in downtown Bucharest, but this is kind of what you're gonna find. So this is the national dish of Romania. It's called sarmale, stuffed cabbage rolls, polenta called mamaliga, and some cabbage with some beef. The other thing that you'll probably try here is mici, which are these little kebab type things served with a little mustard sauce. They obviously keep it pretty heavy, and when you think of Romanian food, it's just heavy. Lots of meat, lots of polenta, and lots of various dishes. And this is my personal favorite down here, which is called papanaș, which is like a fried donut covered in sour cream and some sort of jam. You would kind of assume that it would be more Balkan here, but it's really a mixture of sort of a little bit of the Ottoman Empire ruling Wallachia here in the south, so a little bit of Ottomanized food, but mostly it's like Central European type food. Very heavy, stick to your ribs, good beer. This is a really famous food street here, obviously during the day, so it's pretty much dead. But pubs, bars, lots of beer, lots of big meat plates and all that stuff. And that's it. If you go to the northern part of Romania, you can find more Transylvanian and Hungarian influenced dishes. Things that you'd normally find in Hungary also, like paprikash, like langosh, which is a potato fry bread, and stuff like that. And most importantly, beer and the national alcohol of Romania called palinka, which is kind of like a distillation of grapes and or plums. Normally 40 or 50 degrees, very, very strong, very, very tasty though. Or you could just go buy one, get one free, ask the waiter. You gotta ask the waiter. To end the video, I'm gonna give you my top 5 favorite places to go to on a trip to Romania. Some places that are worth spending a couple days, couple hours, or even longer. Number 1 has gotta be visiting Bucharest. It's the capital, it's the lifeblood of the country. You've got beautiful old architecture. This is an old Ottoman trading post. This is a beautiful church in the old town here with an old clock. I mean, Bucharest has it all. It's got good restaurants, it's the modern interpretation of the country, big city life, really good nightlife, really good bars, and it's just a nice time. Number 2 is you have to go to the Transylvanian region and visit one of these sort of Austro-Hungarian cities that sits high in the mountains. You can go to Brașov, you can go to Sibiu, you can go to Sighișoara. There's a lot of other cities in that general region, but the vibe is very different. It's very mountainous, it's very like rural, kind of like kind of Germanic in a lot of ways, the really rolling hills, as opposed to Wallachia where I am in the south, where it's very flat. Here you find a lot of really nice people, a lot of very beautiful, beautiful buildings and architecture. And it's an excellent place to explore the countryside, the mountainside, the beautiful things that are happening outside of the cities in Romania. They have a wonderful national park called Bucegi National Park where you can go see flowing rivers, waterfalls, you can go hike up mountains, you can also go skiing. It's the biggest ski center in Romania. So this part of Romania is great. Also, if you want to see castles, I think that can be number 3, castles. Romania is really a good place to do the castle tours. So you can of course go to Dracula's castle. I think it's super overrated and it's definitely not worth the price. There are a million other beautiful castles in Romania. The Peleș Castle, really close to Brașov in Sinaia, is a beautiful, beautiful castle that many people get to go to on tours from Bucharest. If not, there are a million other castles in Romania to visit. Castles, palaces, and national historic sites, because there have been many kingdoms and many historical people through this place. So if you want to check out castles, it's just a place to do it. Number 4 for me would be going all the way west near the border of Serbia and near the border of Hungary and visiting the really nice imperial city of Timișoara. The vibe in the city is completely different than what you find in Bucharest. You have this really Austro-Hungarian appeal. The city center is absolutely beautiful. Food is delicious, and it's just something different. It's also much closer to, if you're doing a tour to like Belgrade, if you're doing a tour to Budapest, it's much closer than the southern part and all the rest of Romania that still remains to be seen. Number 5 and last would be to visit 2 places. I'll give you 2 places. You could go to Iași, which is on the border of Moldova. It's a very interesting place. A lot more Moldavian culture. You can really see a little bit of a culture from Moldova, which is really the country that is the brother of Romania, but it's like the brother that was lost a long time ago. So there's a lot of similarities, but also a lot of differences. So check out Iași if you have time. It's I-A-S-I. Here they don't say the S-I, it's just sh. And lastly, you could go to the Black Sea coast, Constanța, which is a beautiful city with a big, notable casino that's very old, very beautiful, for good beach time during the summer, good late night parties, and good overall vibes. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Romania is a vibrant place, an awesome place to do 10 days, 15 days, 2 months, or a whole year if you're really Romanian enough. Thank you guys for watching. Please support me on Patreon if you have the chance. I have a lot of other content being made. I'm doing my 197 foods from around the world that I'm cooking. Currently I'm on like number 26. So if you want me to cook your national dish, you drop me a link and I'll probably do it, and give me some recommendations, recipes, all that good stuff. That's going to be it for me here in lovely Bucharest. We'll see you in the next one. Ciao.